Hello, welcome back to Code and Box Automation Lab. This is Sharfil. So in our last lecture we have seen how to create the capabilities, how to set the capabilities in regards to set your emulator device, like what emulator device you are going to running. It's like about your APK file or your app that you are going to install or initiate on the emulator device. As well as we have seen that we have created the Android driver object so that it can communicate with the server following your IP address as well as the port number, and also it's following your the capabilities, right? But one thing we had to do before we run this code, we had to run the server manually. Like we have to do it like open your command prompt or terminal, then you have to start your server, which is like typing the Appium, and then you can run. So that the problem is, like in real life, when you are going to connect your server, connect your project with the CI/CD pipeline or Jenkins, so who's gonna run the server first manually, and after that it's gonna be run your automation script. So this is not actual automation, right? So that part have to be also automatic. Your server have to run also automatically. So in this lecture we're going to see how you can kick your server automatically. Your server can run automatically without any manual interaction. Okay, so here we're going to write some code also over here. It is like run Appium server automatically. So that's the thing we're going to do. So to do this, okay, so we have a class. We have a class is called Appium Service Builder. So we'll create that class, create an object of that class. So it's called Appium Service Builder. Appium Service Builder, we have a class that can help us to run your Appium server automatically. So create an object, call that server to call this this class. So create an object of that server. So let's options given puts in a variable, and that's the puts a return type, right? So here, okay, so Appium Server Builder, okay, and here you will see, hover your mouse. So here, here I put the same the object variable. So let's put change over here. Let's make it a service. Okay, let's make it a service, and then okay, so Appium Service Builder. So here we'll call, there is another class, it's called Appium. With Appium, I will explain you. Let me call that method. It's called with Appium JS. With Appium JS, okay, call that method. So what is Appium JS? So let me explain you what is Appium JS. So Appium JS, it's a file. When you download the Node.js platform on your system, so there is a main.js, there is a file also install or download with the Node platform. So this file is responsible to invoke the Appium server. So we need the path of that file, because when you run our Appium server manually, what's really happen behind the scene? It find the main.js file, and this JS file invoke the server. So this is the file it's responsible to invoke the server. So if we can give the knowledge about this main.js file in our code, which is responsible to invoke the server, so then our code automatically will have the knowledge about that file, where that file is located, like root directory path, and then we can use that file to invoke the server, like what do we do manually. So we need the knowledge about the main.js file. So where that file is located, if you're using in Windows, so usually in Windows your user, then your username, then app data, roaming, npm, the node modules, appium build, leave, main.js. so usually this is the most of the time is the common path for Windows machine, and for the Mac is usr local leave node modules appium. So this is the link. Most of the time this is the root directory path where you can find your main.js file. In my system, if I go over here, I can show you where is this main.js file. If you see the root directory path over here, user, that's my name, then app data roaming, npm, node modules, appium build, leave. Okay, over here you can see there is a main.js file. You can see over here main.js file, main.js file, right? So that's a main.js file. So this is the file we need. This is the file we need, and because the root directory path for this file, because this file it's responsible to invoke the server. Okay, and if you don't find, especially over here app data, if you go to the app data, if you don't find this, because you may need to view, make sure you go to the view and you check off your hidden items, because app data folder, over here app data folder, a lot of times it's a hidden folder. So if you don't find the app data, it means you have to make sure that you will check off your hidden items, so then you will see that there will be a folder is called app data. Okay, so let's go over here, go back to here. So here we're saying we're using the object of Appium Server builder and calling with a method that server can help us inside this object. There is a method, it's called start method, that can start the server by the help of the other element. By the help of the other element, it means over here there is a method, it's called with Appium.js. Over here we're going to pass the root directory path of the JS file, right? JS file, leave. Okay, so this is the path of the leave. I think so we're missing over here at the last two, it's a main.js, because we need a main.js file right over here, and here still you will see there is an error. It's the method with Appium.js file. It's expect, so this is the string, but this method is expect a file. How we can see, if you hover your mouse, you can see the method with Appium.js. You can see there is a file over here. It is a file type, it's return a file type. And even though if you just click on there, in this method you will see this method how it's built. So this method, you can see it's as an argument, it's expect Appium.js, the Appium.js, the root directory of the Appium.js as a file return. But in our code we're giving as a string. So let's make this one as a file format. Okay, to do this you can just create an object of the file class, create an object of the file class, and then close over here, right? So that should be good. So now the root directory of that node.js file is considering as a file, so it's this method. So this is error is gone. Okay, now and after that we can do call a couple of more methods. So we're calling this node main.js file, right? Main.js file, which is going to be invoke the server. But where is the server it's sitting? Where is the server listening? The IP address, because server, it's our servers. We already over here we already can mention that our server is located in this IP address, following this IP address, and this the node on your machine, right? So we have to provide that info too. So how we can provide? So let's call another method, is called with IP address. It means we're using the IP address where the server is listening or sitting. With IP address there is a method also. So what is the IP address? Let's copy over here. This is the IP address. and when you pass the IP address, make sure you don't pass the HTTP. You don't have to pass the HTTP over here. So with the IP address, what is the port, right? So we can call another method is called using port. Using port, what's the port number? Port number is 4723. 4723. Okay, just also remember this also, this using port, this method also, it's return an integer, so you don't have to make it a string. Okay, you don't have to make it a string. If you just go to the code over here, you can see this using port method is return the integer type. So okay, we don't have to, so that's why this is the 4723 as it is. Okay, and after that we can say dot, we'll call the build method to build the script. Okay, so hover your mouse. Okay, change tab. Okay, so just change the service to Appium driver local service. Okay, change to this one. So let's copy this one, make this object, make this this variable and return type as a public. Okay, public over here, make this one, and then remove this part, right? So and then use the service object reference and call another method. It's called start method. You'll see there is a start method. So this is start method kick off the server following all the information from over here. Okay, so in Appium Server Builder, inside this object, there is a method called start. So that usually kick off the server. So to kick off the server, to start the server, we need all the information related server. Where the main.js file, and where the server is sitting, what port is using, right? So to mention, to include all the information over here, we call the rest different type of method, like with Appium.js, where you can pass as an argument the main.js file as a file type, and then with another IP address where you can pass your local IP address where the server is sitting using the port. Here is the port, and it's a build method. Finally, it's build the script. Okay, so that should work. And at the very end, so this will start the server, right? And over here at the very end, we said driver.quit. It will quit the app, right? So we need to also, let's call another method from this same underneath, using the same service object reference, called stop method. So it will stop the server automatically. Okay, so that should work. Let's see. So, and here I have already opened my emulator. Okay, emulator is demo2 is the emulator name. Okay, so let me go and run it. So our server now, it should run, if it's open successfully, it should run on our console, no more in command prompt. Okay, save it, run it. Let's see, let me minimize this, okay, so that I can see the also the view also on the emulator. See, there's if it's a kick off that emulator too. Okay, looks like we got an error. Okay, let me see what's the error. Okay, let's make it bigger, and then so what's the error we got? So we're saying, it's saying, okay, Java Appium client server local Appium server has not been started, locally exception. So it means the Appium server did not start. So if the Appium server did not start, it means that it will not invoke the emulator, because after the Appium server start, this code will pass to the Appium server, then Appium server will translate and it will execute read the code line by line, and it will follow the instruction that the execution will be implemented on the emulator. So since Appium server didn't start, so that's why there is nothing happen on our emulator. So this is the errors. In this case, it's sometimes like it may take a little bit longer time So what we can see, you can see over here also over here caused by, so the issue was Appium Server didn't start, and this is the one of the cause they're saying Java util conquered the timeout exception. So maybe it was not enough time, the default enough time was not enough to invoke the server. So what we can do, we can we can add before the build, so we can call another method. We can call another method is called with timeout. Okay, with, you can say timeout, with timeout, with timeout, with time. Let me type again. With time. Let me remove this guy. Okay. With timeout, you can see there is over here with timeout duration time. Okay, so we're going to add some global timeout. Okay, we're going to add some timeout. So what's the timeout over here? We'll say duration. What would be the duration? So duration dot off second. So definitely we're going to pass a second, right? Off second. So what would be the second? Let's put 300. Okay, over here, and after that let's add the build. Okay, let's call the build function. Okay, so I added some extra time, explicitly some implicitly time over here. So I added some extra time of global time, so that it it's keep a little bit extra, because I can see over here it's saying that's timeout exception. So our time, the default time was not enough to kick off the server. Let me run it again. Okay, minimize it, let's run it again. Let's see, run it, test injects. Okay, let it go. Let's see. Okay, still we haven't, there's nothing we can see, but okay, looks good to me. Yeah, looks good to me. I can see the 200 response. It means it's working. Yeah, you can see this is the server. You see this server is already started over here. So shortly you will see the app will invoke over here in our emulator. It should. Okay, so now the server is it's showing on your console. Here we go. You see the app got invoked. You see API demo, this is the app. So it is the home page, and then it should also stop. Okay, so looks good to me, right? So that's the way you can see there is a test run 1, 0 failure, so it passed 1. So everything looks good, and there is a response of 200. So this is the pass for this method. So what's really happening here, and also you see this at the very end we said driver.quit. It means it's quit our app, and also we said driver.service.stop. So this method will stop our server, so that our server is not running behind the scene, right, behind the screen. So that's the the beauty over here. Now we don't have to worry anymore to start the server before we execute our code. Okay, so this is the very smart way to optimize or to make real automation, so that your server get start or invoke at the beginning of your execution, and then it will do the rest of the automation. Okay, so that's the easy, and this you can call real automation. because if you have an automation, everything's all of the different functions or different service on your app, but if you have to invoke your server manually, so who's gonna do that? And that's not called the fully automation. So automation, it means everything will happen without your physical interaction, right? It should automatically should work, especially when you will create a job in Jenkins for your project. So we can schedule your project to run like a schedule based, maybe say every night 2 o'clock in the morning. So who's gonna wake up and start the server? That's not possible, and this is not automated. So it should run, everything have to be automated. So you schedule it and it will run everything. So your server should run at the beginning, and then it should execute all of the test cases, and in the morning you supposed to just see the report. Okay, that's called automation. So that's the way this issue, the running the Appium server, the issue got resolved. Now it's start automatically, and also it's stopped at the very end. Okay, so moving forward, in our next lecture you will see we'll optimize this class. So this is like something is prerequisite, right? This server, like you have to run the server, and this is like your over here your all capabilities information, over here your driver object, right? And so those are the very like prerequisites. So we'll make, that's why we created the when you create this class, so you give a name this class as a base class. So this is your setup class or base class. So we'll make this class, we'll make a little bit optimized, we'll change the test annotation to before class, and then we'll create actual test cases in a separate class, and we'll inherit this class, this method to your test cases, so that in your test cases you have the knowledge about this prerequisite, the method. Okay, so we'll see those things in our next class. So that's all for today. Thanks a lot. Have a good one. Bye bye.